I think for us, we're going to have to see kind of how free agency goes before we really narrow it down. We really have the philosophy of drafting the best player on the board. So we'll kind of see how everything goes, and usually it works out the right way for us. It has the last couple of years.
Adam, can you explain the philosophy in franchising Jarvis Landry?
Yeah, we were trying to figure out the best way. We knew we were going to do it. We weren't sure when the best timing was for us. We just decided to do it on that first day. We felt like that was the best thing for us to really, for him to know that that's there. And, we'll just kind of see how this plays out.
Do you want him to be part of the team next year?
Yeah, I mean, if it works out the way that we've kind of looked at things, there's really that's why we franchised them. And we'll just kind of see how it goes.
Have things gone well between you guys and him in the last few months?
I mean, since the season has ended, you can't do anything. I mean, you can't really talk to your guys, or if you see them in passing, you can't talk any football. So.
But the contract, regarding the contract.
Yeah, that's really that's Mike and Chris's. That's Mike and Chris kind of handle that stuff. I stay out of that, and we got time for everything. We're not going to get in a big rush just because everybody wants to figure out what's going on.
How would you describe the void that there would be if he is not on the team this year? What would be missing?
I think anytime you have a player that's really been a lead at his spot, if that guy's not there, we found this out last year. At least that we felt at the quarterback position, it makes a big difference, and you have to make adjustments. And that's why we're trying to make sure that we put this team together the right way. I think, right now we're at that standstill where we can't do anything. And, we got the next 14, 15 days until we can actually do anything.
Have you talked to Jarvis at all personally?
I have not since the end of the season.
If you would, what would you say to him about just make sure that the Dolphins?
Yeah, I mean, anytime, you guys know this about me, anytime I have a conversation with a player, that's going to stay private. I'm not going to talk about anything publicly.
At what point do you get involved in the scouting process? It's not like college football.
Well, Chris does a good job of setting everything up for me personally, and then our coaching staff, to where they narrow down a list in free agency to start. Our guys go and become part of the evaluation process, and then he narrows it down even tighter for me so I can really maximize my time. And it's the same thing with the draft. He narrows the list down, and I'm able to sit in a lot of meetings to where they've already gone through it a couple times before, and the scouts do a great job. And, between the scouts, Chris and Mike, they do a good job to where when we do hit those meetings, those meetings are very effective and not really short, but, our time is used well.
What, if anything, is intriguing about this particular quarterback draft class?
I haven't really dug into it as much as everybody wants you to at this point. For myself, I'm still in the evaluating last year, our scheme and free agency.
On that note, Jay left and obviously became a Super Bowl champion. But what was intriguing was the run pass option that they used. Did you have a chance to look at how the other guys did that same thing? Maybe I should borrow that?
Yeah, we take a peek at a lot of different offenses. And Doug is somebody that I have a lot of respect for, and we practice against them in training camp. So there was a few things that we actually took for them for our season. And we always do projects at the end of the season where we break things up to where guys can go back and look at some schemes or the way that their run pass options were throughout the season. So that's always going to be a team we're going to take a peek at.
How would you evaluate your rookie class from last year, and what kind of step do you expect to have?
I thought they did a good job. It felt like we had a lot of guys play. I thought our college free agents, we had so many guys either make it at the beginning or ended up being on the roster towards the end of the year. So, in our draft picks, the ones that ended up staying healthy, we lost a couple guys, but I felt like that group did a really good job. They were a good example of how we want to do it going forward. Well, as far as what the trainers and doctors have told me, everything's progressed extremely well. He's always going to be ahead of where he's supposed to be. He's a physical freak, and we'll just kind of play this one as the week goes on, throughout the off season. And really, for me, I won't personally know until we get into those stages to where we can be out at practice throwing, and all I can do is hear things are going good. He's moving around well. He's able to do what he needs to do to play quarterback.
How excited are you at the idea of having them back?
I'm extremely excited. I know really our entire roster is. The guys I talked to at the end of the year, I think everybody appreciated what he brought to the table in years past, and sometimes you lose perspective of what somebody does for your team, and what he did for us in 2016. We lost him, and then going through an entire season without having him. I think the appreciation from him, not only from the coaching staff but other players, is very high.
Coach, you made the transition from coordinator to head coach, and a lot of guys are doing that now. Explain a little bit what goes into that, and also you're pretty efficient with your coach on the track. What stands out?
I think the hardest thing, in that first year is just managing your time, because you want to be involved in the side of the ball that you've been working on for your entire career, and you're trying to manage your time between offense, defense, special teams. It depends if you're calling plays or calling a defense. That's going to occupy more of your time. And then when you're more involved in personnel, and you're involved in so many decisions, and then you're dealing with a lot of managerial type things to do. So you have to manage your time extremely well, because next thing you know, you're not hitting the things that you need to hit. And Matt's been in New England so long. He's seen how it's done at the highest level, and I'm sure there's a lot of things that he's going to take from that and those experiences and use those to his advantage.
What about defensively, though? You talk about they give up yards, but not points.
Yeah, I've had games where we've gotten yards and no points, and I've had games where we haven't gotten many yards, and they've done a really good job to where we haven't scored any points either. So, he's always challenging to go against. There's games where you feel like he knows what you're calling before he calls it, before you're calling your plays, and it was always a fun game to call games against him, because I knew, with him being a good friend of mine, it was just kind of, that rivalry to where you're trying to beat one of your good friends. So, that we get to play him again this year, so I guess it doesn't end yet.
Is Jawan James healthy
Right, as far as medically, he's healthy, and we got to make a decision here coming up, so we still got a couple weeks before we have to make any kind of decision.
Adam, would you feel?
Two backup quarterbacks led teams on deep playoff runs. Did that change how that position is being placed on it, or willingness to devote resources there?
Well, for us, we felt like we were in a pretty good position with Ryan and Matt going into last season, and we felt that way the year before, and it really paid off for us the year before when Ryan went down, and Matt was able to come in and finish that season off to where we got a playoff berth. And then last year when Ryan went down so early, that's why one of the main reasons that we felt like bringing Jay in was our best option, because that gave us two guys in case something happened and Matt had to play. I think it's really hard for quarterbacks to stay healthy for 16 games. It's a physical game, and these guys are taking some shots, and a lot of times they don't see them coming, and that's when the injuries occur. And I think if we can get in a situation where we have two guys we feel confident about, that's going to benefit us.
Coach, what's your advice? As you're getting to know prospects over the next couple months, do you want to know where they stand on social
No, my biggest thing I'm always looking for is everything's football related to me. We support our guys when they do anything outside our building to try to help our community, or in Kenny's case, he's really he's really widened out his branched out into not only South Florida, outside of there. So we're very supportive of trying to help as many people as our players can try to reach, and I feel like our guys do a really good job of that. Yeah, I just, hearing that, just walking over here, it surprises me a little bit. I thought he was gonna keep going there for maybe another year, but great player. I'm very fortunate that I was able to be around him for 1 year, and the last 2 years being, with the Jets, getting to see him play, a few times, and he hurt us when he played us. I don't know if he had our number. It felt like, but great player. He's so versatile, and he's a great guy, great locker room guy. He did it right. He's what you look for when you talk about a pro.
What's your evaluation of Jakeem Grant and Leonte?
Well, Jakeem, got some opportunities this year and made the most of them. We had high expectations going in, especially after training camp, that we felt like there was going to be a little bit of a jump there. I think it just got tough for him, where he was getting beat up just a little bit on some of the kickoff returns and punt returns, and he lost a little juice there in the middle of the season. Then once he really kind of got comfortable, he made an impact on our offense, and we're looking to build on that. I feel like we have a good idea of what's the right amount for him and what he can do and what we can have success with him, and we'll kind of see how this year goes and what else we can do with him. We're still just bringing him along. I think he has a better feel for the offense. Sometimes it's tough to find that role when you had those three guys really that we all trusted. We didn't really want them off the field. We were doing a lot of 11 personnel where all three wideouts are on the field, and when we go to our 12 personnel package, it was either Jarvis and one of those other two guys. So it's a tough lineup to crack, but his biggest thing is always just keep finding a way to get better. And, when he gets his opportunity, he's done a good job when we've thrown him in there. He's made some plays when we needed him to.
Particularly on the defensive side of the ball, sometimes you just have to line up and play. How important is it when you first find guys that can, wear multiple hats and do different things?
We're always looking for that. I mean, it's just like everybody else is, especially this time of year. It's just finding the right guys that fit what we were looking to do. And I know Matt's always trying to find ways to really tighten down our defense. And, what do we do well? That's really what we've been talking about. And we're just going to keep working on that as we go through the offseason.
As you evaluate Jesse Davis's ability to play right tackle this year, is he an offensive tackle?
We've had a lot of discussion about this. I think it, for him, he being, really playing majority of his snaps at right guard, I think he did a good job there. I felt like him and Sam really developed something there towards the end. We'll just kind of see how everything plays out. I mean, we have a lot of time here. We have to make decisions, on so many players, and then kind of see how free agency goes, see how the draft goes, and, we'll kind of sort through all this stuff. We want to just try to, get as many guys as we can to compete in that room and try to find a way to make ourselves better.
Many teams have the philosophy to draft a quarterback every year or almost every year. Where do you kind of stand on that concept?
I'd love to draft a quarterback every year. It doesn't always work out that way. So we'll kind of see how the board falls for us. When that first year we felt like Brandon was a guy that there was a lot of us that were very interested to see, what we could do with him, and he had a lot of success in college. So, we're still working through things to try to help him get better, and, we'll see how this year goes. It's hard to predict.
Coach, can he and Drake hold up the same volume you saw at him this year? You guys have been pretty spelled.
No, he's one of those guys that, he hasn't had a lot of wear and tear over his career. We're really not ever looking to be a guy that's going to have one guy where he has 20 and 25 carries. We kind of want to spread it out. We like using multiple backs. We started doing some things with other guys, even, moving Jakeem in the backfield every once in a while. But, Kenny has done a better job of taking care of his body, getting himself ready for games. A couple of those games where he had 20-plus carries, he's walking in and acting like he didn't even play a game the day before. So I think youth plays a part in that a little bit, and he's put together well.
Have you noticed anything about him? Has he improved in his pass protection?
I don't know if there was anything that really told me that he wasn't good at pass protection. I think he's had more opportunities. There's been a few times where I wish he would have done some different things, but for the most part, he's going to stick his face right in there. He's going to take a linebacker on, and he's going to do everything he can to make sure that, it's stalemated at the line of scrimmage or, drive the guy out of the way of the quarterback. So he knows who to get. It's just sometimes he's going to use the right technique, and we're just going to keep working on that as we move forward.
Adam, as you evaluated yourself in the offense over the past season, what led you to say, I want to go get some help running the offense?
I think once Dow really became available, we've worked together in the past. Obviously, we were running the same offense. He just did some different things because of the personnel than what we did in 2015, and we've evolved a little bit here. It's just Dow knows how I think, and we're able to communicate very easy. It's just there's something about our connection that just, it works well for me and him.
How do you envision that working for you in your role, though? Does that make things easier in some way than it wasn't before?
I think Dow can really jump ahead. He seems to have a good knack for knowing what I'm thinking before I say anything. So that's always something that is a good thing to have when you're a head coach and you've got a lot of things you're trying to accomplish.
If you would go get a quarterback at 11, would Ryan be okay with it? Have conversations about that?
Yeah, Ryan would never shy away from anybody coming in that position. Ryan's going to be our starting quarterback, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. And I can't wait to where we get back out there in the spring and get going. And I just know it's going to be really good to have him back. Well, personally, or I don't know what's going on with all that. I just know when he's in there, it's very difficult to handle their offense. He's a game changer for sure. He makes plays that there's not many guys that can make. Yeah, I don't want to root for that quite yet because that'll probably draw him back in, or if enough of us start rooting for that. So.
When Eric Studesville became available,
I think, as soon as I heard that he was moving on, I knew he was interviewing. When I was able to talk to him, it was, we had a spot open, and I knew that was really the fit that I was looking for. Being back around him has been great for me. Just, when you're around guys that you've worked with before and they know your system, they know how you want to do things. He was able to walk right in. It felt like he never left. So it's been fun being around a couple of these guys that I haven't been around in a couple of years.
defensive pass interference goes to 15 yards instead of the ball field instead of the spot foul. Do you like it? How might it alter offensive play?
It probably changes for me if I'm on offense or defense. So if I was on defense, I'd be excited about it. I'd just tell them anytime you get beat, just tackle the guy. It's only going to be a 15-yard penalty. So if I'm on offense, I'm probably not real happy. I don't know. We'll see.
So going back to Kenyon, what in your eyes are the next things, next steps?
I think just keep growing. Just don't get stagnant in his development. I think there's a lot for him to still learn, and he just needs to keep gaining knowledge. He has, he's been watching other guys. I know that was one of the things that this offseason he was going to try to do was watch more film on other guys to see kind of other people's running styles and how they do things. And I think the longer he plays in this league, the more he'll realize, you just got to stay with it. You got to study. You got to keep finding ways to learn. You just can't stay the same every year.
What kind of steps forward are you looking for from Charles Harris?
I'll be excited to see him really have a bigger role this year. We kind of tried to use him more in those passing situations and, making him more of an every down player. It's always interesting that first year when DNs come in from college, that transition from, the play action passes or the run game, and then have to transition to a pass. It's not as easy as you think, and when it's third down, you can see that's really where he's most comfortable. So I think the more football he plays, the better he's going to get. And I thought he had a pretty good year this year. He did a lot of good things, and we were excited about what he showed us.
Does he get a chance to compete for the starting job this season, or do you see it as waiting?
No, he's going to compete for the starting job.
One quick follow-up on Kenyon. He got utilized some on halftime of the season. Feel like, developing more as a pass catcher is something that he needs to kind of focus on a little bit?
Well, that was one of the big reasons we drafted him, was his ability to, run the ball inside and outside, run routes from the backfield, spread them out. He was one of those constant guys that would like to remind you of how good of a receiver he is outside and empty and things like that. And I always would tell him, I know, like, we drafted you, I remember. But we got some situations to put him in where we got some man coverage. We got linebackers out there on him, and that's a good matchup for us. And when that happens, we just got to make sure we hit our shots.
What do you see the characteristics and strengths of the running back, whether it's free agency or the draft, that would complement Kenyon well?
I think anybody that can play all three downs. I mean, really, that's the biggest thing I look for, a guy that can both run the ball, pass protection, and catch the ball in the backfield. I think that's why Kenyon and Damian were such a good, both those guys. We never really looked at either one of them as the starter. We kind of was 1A, 1B. They both started games, and we felt good about both those guys being in there. I never really looked up to say who's in the game. It didn't matter because I felt like they both had complementary skill sets, and both those guys really did a good job. They fed off each other. They were happy for each other when they had success.
In our eyes, Kiko didn't play the level of 17 he did in 16. How did you see him play last year, and is he unlike a real linebacker in your eyes?
Yeah, the same amount of tackles this year as last year, right?
There's some breakdowns in pass coverage.
Do you know who was supposed to cover who? Was it a safeties issue? Was it him? Was it man-to-man coverage?
Perk said some things that indicated
Well, I mean, everybody's going to have some issues every once in a while, but I don't think it was as bad as everybody kind of portrayed it.
Do you think he's good at covering tight ends?
I think when we put him in the right position and he gets up there and he's aggressive on him, I think he does a really good job. I think when he plays off and kind of waits for that guy to make the move, I think that's when we'd rather him be more aggressive and trust the fact that he's faster than most of these guys. But when he does that, that's usually when he had the most success. I mean, he's played both. I mean, our linebackers are so interchangeable. I mean, you can put them at either one.
Adam, what do you want to see from the tight end position this season, and does Jarvis's presence raise or lower the importance of the tight end position?
Well, it's always going to be a position we look at and try to figure out what's going to be best for us for this season. So, anytime that you can have a tight end that can be effective in the pass game and still be effective in the run game and pass protection, really that's what you want there. We've had some, the last 2 years we've had some movement where guys have been in and out, and, we'll kind of see what happens this year. And I think we had, picking up AJ late last year was good for us, and he did some things that really impressed us in practice, and we tried to get involved a little bit in the game. It was good to kind of get that last game. Was a good experience for us where we played a ton of guys that really hadn't got to play all year, so we at least have a good idea of what those guys can bring to the table.
A couple more questions, guys.
How anxious are you to see McMillan back on the field and see if he can pick up where he left off last year?
I'm excited to see him get back on the field along with our quarterback.
When you're evaluating a quarterback prospect, how much do you factor in watching this throw like highlights?
I think anytime you can watch somebody throw live, it helps you. Just you can kind of see the little tiny in between plays, kind of the reaction to the thing. How do they come back from a throw that wasn't really great? I think those pro days are valuable. Private workouts when you can get up and close and watch these guys throw. I think it's very valuable.
Last question. All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Coach.